What's up, guys? MJ here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Super discussion, and I have with me the ravishing Real to Real. What's going on, bro?
I'm supposed to be a god of destruction, man in black. I ain't ravishing, man.
Hey, man, I'm gonna give you so many titles. I'm gonna make it my mission that every single time we collab, I will give you a new title. A new title. Every single time. I don't know what it's gonna be. It'll be off the top. It may suck, but whatever. Anyways, guys, you read the title and you saw the thumbnail. Yes, you definitely saw Caulifla in the thumbnail. We're going to be talking about why having two Saiyans from Universe 6 is an important thing to the overall franchise and to the overall story of Dragon Ball Super. Now, Mark approached me with this topic, so I'm definitely going to throw it over to him and let him elaborate a bit, kind of give his, I guess, reason to why it is important, and then I'll sort of give my opinion on that. But make sure you guys comment down below, what do you think about this? Because remember, the conversation just isn't between me and the ravishing Real to Real. It is between all of us. I respect your opinions and your thoughts, so make sure you comment down below everything that you have to say, because I do read the comments, and I know Real to Real reads them too. He creeps on you guys. So I'm gonna throw it over to Real. What do you think? Why are having two Saiyans important?
Yeah, two female Saiyans in particular. I really
My bad.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So I want to start from when we first met the Saiyans in Universe 6. So obviously Champa was like, "Look, we need Saiyans. They got Saiyans. We need Saiyans. We have Saiyans. They have Saiyans. Yada yada yada." So what it seems really apparent, and we know that Kaba has a whole lot of potential in himself just based on him fighting base Vegeta like on par, and then Super Saiyan Vegeta on par when he becomes Super Saiyan. We know just how strong someone like Kaba actually is in comparison, but in particular, one of the things they did show, and this would have hurt them if they didn't have two female Saiyans, is when Kaba comes in, he's calm, he's collected, he has no anger in him, other than the fact when basically Vegeta kind of coaxes it out of him. He's not necessarily into violence or anything. He fights for a cause. He doesn't want to fight and kill anyone just because he's ruthless, the same way that we saw Vegeta at the beginning of Dragon Ball Z, someone like Nappa and Raditz and all those other people that we saw in the Bardock special, you know. So there's a fundamental difference between the Saiyans that we knew and someone like Kaba. And one of the things that kind of made me worried, and I know, like, I've discussed this with you before, and I know we've done videos about this before, is when we saw that teaser and everyone blew the hell up, like literally the Dragon Ball community shut down when Kale was introduced, and we were like, oh my god, Broly is in, you know, like a female Broly is in Dragon Ball Super. It's going to get crazy. You remember that, man? Like, it was so...
It's not just because of that. I think because, remember, when they first showcased that, it was so fast, dude, that I don't think anyone saw the boobs. So people thought it was just Broly. So everyone was like, oh my god, Broly's in Super, you know? People were just going fucking crazy, dude. So it wasn't just because, you know, that. It was like people thought Broly legit became canon, you know? Like, he just became canon to the story. So people were freaking out over that. And then, of course, the boobs came later, and then that's what happened.
then we all started pausing, and we realized, oh my god. But I think... So one of the... So one of the things I really thought was so weird about that, and I felt like I was the only one basically crying in a room. I was just crying out, and no one was basically talking about this, was the fact that, isn't it going to be weird? I mean, like, I know it probably wasn't the worst thing for the Japanese culture, but do you remember at the beginning, at least throughout the entire Future Trunks arc, everyone was laughing about, like, man, like, what are they going to call it, and what are they going to call Black? Like, short, basically, what are they going to call Black in the Future Trunks arc when they dub it? Because they can't just go around and call him that black guy. Like,
they're calling him GB, bro.
There was a lot of people saying, man, like, they're going to have to definitely change this because it's not going to translate well. They can't say that. And it made me wonder, like, you know, maybe they don't necessarily care. Maybe Toei doesn't necessarily care, and they're going to basically contrast the only other Saiyan that we're going to be seeing. And before we got introduced to Caulifla, a lot of people thought that Kale was going to be the only other Saiyan on the Universe 6 team, is they're going to contrast this really calm, mellow, not necessarily barbaric Saiyan who's a male with this timid looking, just really small, petite female Super Saiyan who has this roid out rage legendary Super Saiyan ability where she can just basically go berserk on everyone. And I always thought, look, they're going to run into a situation, and this probably wouldn't have been a big deal back in the 80s or 90s, but we're in 2017 right now. They're going to run into a huge issue where it's, you know, like, it's insensitive. Like, this is kind of an insensitive portrayal of what the female, like, what a female actually is, especially a female of power. And it's not something that they're going to be able to brush off lightly, and it's not going to be something that translates across the world really well, especially if even if the Japanese culture doesn't necessarily see it the way we do. I mean, we've seen situations like this time and time again where the sensibilities of the West and the East are just completely and utterly different, and one thing that's not offensive to them is completely defensive to us. So they're going to have to work around this. But that's why Caulifla, in my opinion, is something that can really take on and, you know, soothe out this entire situation. Is Caulifla is calm, she's confident, she's definitely kind of a little bit more barbaric than someone like...
She has a sexy ass attitude.
Yeah, she's more barbaric than someone like Kaba, but she seems to be cool and calm. And as long as we have at least one balancing factor from a female Super Saiyan that shows us that not all female Super Saiyans, or at least all female Saiyans from Universe 6, are like this, and there's a balance between someone like Kale and Caulifla, and they have distinctly different personalities, then we're not left to wonder whether this is just going to be all Saiyan women who have any type of potential or any type of power. They're all just kind of roid rage machines that could be, like I said, potentially really, really insensitive. With Caulifla, it allows us to be like, yeah, like Kale is just kind of this prodigy type of person who gets mad the same way that Gohan does, and they can utilize this kind of homage form to Broly as a really interesting kind of like selling point, and not necessarily something that can hurt them in other countries or anything else like that. So that's really why I think having someone like Caulifla and Kale in the same tournament is probably a really good thing, and I'm really glad they actually decided to make that choice.
Yeah, definitely, because if you just introduce Kale and have her in the tournament, and then for whatever reason, she just transforms into this berserker state or into this legendary form, it's kind of like, it's just stereotyping what I guess the female Saiyans may actually be, you know. Or are they all just shy? Are they all just like cowardly? And then they get pissed off and then they're angry, you know. It's like that could really, you know, hurt them in different markets. I completely agree with you. So having Caulifla there, it balances it out, because like I said before, Caulifla has that sexy attitude, man. She's she's mean. She's a fucking leader of a gang, dude. That's crazy. So it definitely shows us that, you know, the females among the Saiyans do differ. They do not all have the same personality. They're not all like, you know, shy and cowardly. They just burst into rage, you know what I mean? And plus, I think we brought this up in a video on your channel, which, if it's out by the time this video comes out, I'll link it down below in the description in the comment section. We talk about, you know, Caulifla having just no Super Saiyan form, or her being in her base form. I think that'd be kind of cool. I mean, it would be cool to see that happen, and it would be cool to kind of differ between, you know, Kale and Caulifla, who Kale was like very raged out. Freak. I don't want to use the word freak. I don't want to use that word. She's just like a monster. Whereas Caulifla is more calm, and she has, you know, everything collected, cool. You know, she has all the power there. It would be nice to see the difference in that aspect as well.
No, yeah, I totally agree. And like I keep saying, it was something, for me at least, was going to be a tightrope for them. And now I feel like it's become a far less so, just because they took the time and they decided against introducing just one female Super Saiyan, or at least one female Saiyan in general. And now they have someone to balance. And I feel like, you know, you have three different characters. You have someone like Kaba, who's probably a little bit more calm and collected. Caulifla, who's, you know, more of a, I guess, a rebel, badass leader type, where she is still calm and collected. And also, like, you know, Kale, who is also a little bit calm and collected, like definitely shy and everything else, but has this kind of unique form to her. And it doesn't necessarily illustrate the Saiyan race as being, you know, the males are kind of subservient to the females who are just this strong, which, not that we would have as a fan base. I think we're smarter than that. That's not really what they would have actually expected us to walk away with. But I just kind of see, I just could potentially see a segment of the internet population going, yeah, that's what that means, and then it just becomes this big internet controversy, especially when you get to the dubbing issue and everything like that. How are we going to portray this? And it's not like this is something that hasn't happened before, how the sensibilities of, you know, the Eastern culture in Japan deals with our Western culture. You know, we saw this back in the day with Sailor Moon and how they actually wanted to tell their story, and how we made female characters female characters we made male characters, and male characters female characters. We completely cut away arcs when we were dubbing because it just wouldn't translate, or it would be too offensive to a Western culture, a Western audience. And I didn't want this to happen with Dragon Ball Super, just because they wanted to give us some form or some homage to someone like that we really like Broly, and just have it be kind of hated or dogged on because of the fact that it was a woman that they were given this transformation. I really think that there's really no reason why it can't be, and I really think the balancing between Kale and Caulifla will do wonders in order to show us that it's not all female Super Saiyans who are like this, and Kale is just that much of a prodigy or that much of a unique type of person where this isn't every single person.
I completely agree with you. It's a very smart move, and I do like that concept of having, you know, the 3 different Saiyans, because you can argue that in Universe 7, the 3 Saiyans, you know, Gohan and Vegeta and Goku, they're all kind of different in their own right. So I do like that aspect that you brought up with Kaba, Caulifla, and Kale kind of being different in their own right. So guys, comment down below. Do you agree with Real to Real and I? Do you actually think that is a good idea they introduced 2 female Saiyans from Universe 6? Or like, do you disagree with this? Do you think one should have been introduced and that just be like, you know, the one female Super Saiyan? Let us know. What do you think? Comment down below. Make sure you share this video with your friends. Links in the description to Real to Real's channel as well as that video, so go check it out. Alright guys, till next time.